The large blue sign over the archway of the wrought iron gate that serves as the entrance to the academy suggests images of rippling creeks and quiet meadows, a serene environment of contemplation and study. One can almost hear in the distance the sounds of a friendly game of tag or monkey in the middle.
The sign reads, "The Oliver Canton Academy for the Social Reform and Rehabilitation of Wayward Young Men."
After obtaining clearance with the Academy Security Force, we were greeted by a very polite yet quite serious young man of about 10 years of age. I thought it rather odd that this little fellow was wearing a bowler cap. Who wears bowler caps anymore anyway? We followed the boy as he led us through the apple orchards, into a large courtyard that was bustling with activity, and into a gated complex of buildings that reminded one of the Pentagon, that symbol of nationalist might that we had read about in this school. It had been destroyed during the War of the Atonement, the turning point in our history when war and injustice was finally outlawed by the Council of Mentors, who would oversee our safety and re-education during the Great Reconstruction. To ensure against any future conflicts, the Council of Mentors established academies around the globe which trained and monitored young men who were perceived as potential threats in later life. They were taught a trade and instructed in good citizenship under the watchful eyes of the mentors. Every word, every thought, and every deed was recorded to be used as evidence against offenders during the judgments, which were carried out swiftly and severely. The administration was headed by the grandson of the Academy's founder, for whom it is named. Oliver Canton III was only 8 years old when he was appointed by the council, and he had already served 2 years as its executive administrator when little Tommy Major was brought in by the authorities on charges of theft for the sheer amusement of it. It was a serious charge, and he was sentenced to hard labor in the Academy's boot factory. It was in the factory where most of the boys began their re-education. It was very hot at 104 degrees, and the boys had to wear specially designed masks that reconstituted the hellish fumes from the melting rubber into breathable oxygen. Often after the day's work, some of the boys would meet under the old sewage pipe that led to a barren crevice that was once known as a river, out of the sight of the mentors, and shoot craps while they drank liquor that had been stolen from the derelicts. From the city's Skid Row, the liquor was supplied by a brave group of boys who had discovered a way to go AWOL without being detected by the mentors. They would trudge through the mud fields that separated the academy from the nearest town and relieve the unconscious drunks of their next morning's supply of happy juice. Tommy was the new kid. He was very gullible,
and he was easily lured into this young group of mischief mongers. Tommy also bore an uncanny resemblance to Oliver Canton, and it did not go unnoticed by the young administrator Canton, and heard rumors of the nocturnal escapades of this group of miscreants, and became determined to learn for himself how they managed to evade the watchful eyes of the mentors. Using his likeness to the major boy, Oliver gained his trust by suggesting that Tommy may be a relative of his, and may be entitled by birth to certain rights and privileges, but it must be kept secret since accusations of favoritism could arise. Several months had passed since Tommy's arrival at the academy when one day, Oliver decided to implement a plan he had been devising to unearth the truth of the renegade boys' methods of escaping detection by the mentors. After all, Oliver was a 10-year-old boy, just like Tommy and the rest of the boys at the academy. Oliver's life had become dull and mundane. Every day since his appointment, Oliver has had to answer to the council, and although he was the executive administrator, it was a puppet position which held very little power, or immutable power, or importance. His title was merely dynastic, and he was used by the mentors to foster empathy from the boys. Oliver was a role model, a kind of poster child exemplifying what the boys could become with hard work and total obedience to the mentors. Orson disclosed his plan. They would trade places. For 1 week, Tommy would act as executive administrator, and Oliver would go out among the other boys to observe the methods by which they were able to elude the watchful eyes of the mentors. He worked with them in the boot factory, ate with them in the mess hall, and journeyed with them to the old sewage pipe. He charged from the mud fields to the city with the liquor bandits, and as beginner's luck would have it, he won a few rounds of craps. The floodlights temporarily blinded the boys at the old sewage pipe. They were arrested and sent to the judgment camp for the impossibly untrainable. Meanwhile, little Tommy Major was becoming quite accustomed to his comfortable new life. No one, not even his closest aides, or even the mentors, suspected that a switch had taken place. He happily oversaw the operation of the boot factory and reported to the mentors all that he observed at the academy.
The sign reads, the Oliver Canton Academy for the Social Reform and Rehabilitation of Wayward Young Men.